Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another week of action here at Runeterra Aegis League. Here, I'm Zero with my co-caster TDS. How are you doing, TDS?
Excited. Another week of games, another week of Runeterra action. We get to be here to see some of the better players in Runeterra, in Legends of Runeterra. So I'm really excited to be here, especially because I haven't casted with you previously, so this is going to be a first as well for me. So I'm really excited to see what today brings for us.
Yeah, I'm really excited as well. And what a week this is gonna be. Both because we have got amazing matchups to see with super strong team, really, and also because this is the week of open rounds for the seasonal tournament.
Yep, we're getting today. We have the matches that we will be streaming today for Aegis Frontera, Aegis Legends of Frontera. But as you're mentioning, on Saturday we will have the open. I think it's open qualifiers, open matches for the circuit of Legends of Frontera, which is really exciting. Leading into the 21st of May, which will be the playoffs for Legends of Frontera circuit. I want to see the name because I'm pretty sure it has a much more exact name. And yes, for the curious journey, the playoffs will be on the 21st of May, just to be sure. So this is all leading on to that event.
Yeah, and this is a super exciting meta. I think, especially since for actually 1 month ago, we got super big changes to how the game worked. We got a very big patch impacting the ruling of the game and how specific interactions and champions actually were defined to work. And we have seen a huge shift in the meta because previously we were more into a combo oriented and control meta, and now we are in an absolute nightmare of a mid-range meta. Every deck almost is a mid-range. We have got insanely strong decks like Mono Viego Shurima, like for example Talia Ziggs, and Shurima is the king of the regions.
Yeah, and speaking of the decks potential, because we will be getting some of the highlighted decks, we will have the highlights of the first set that we will have tonight. It's Team Space Poggers Squeeby. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm sorry if I botched it, but yeah, Squeeby with the Jace Luke's deck that seems to be really interesting. It is really spell based, but even though at first glance it may have looked or it may be something akin to similar to what Control is, this is a much more mid-rangey deck, like you were telling me previously before we started the cast. This is something really mid-rangey with a lot of power early on that enemy players should be careful about, because if you expect something that will take longer to stack or become powerful, it's not going to be necessarily the case. And I'm really excited to see if this will go, if this will not get banned, or if this will go against a lot of players. Because I'm really interested in seeing the interactions with some of these cards, as well as just seeing how powerful the Forge of Tomorrow may end up being.
Yeah, exactly. And I absolutely agree with you. We see basically the standard random number of removals, the absolute minimum here with just 3 Mystic shots and 2 thermogenic beams, and then basically it's all aggression. Like you
Yeah.
have rallies, you have of course buffs to keep your units alive, to take value trades, and especially after the changes that we mentioned not long ago, Lux and Jace are became so much more powerful. They don't need to see the spell actually activate anymore. They can just see the spell being casted and put on the stack, and just they level up and they give you the value. Especially Lux gives you much more access to removal, much more access to board control, and this is what makes this deck an absolute nightmare. Not so much in
Yep.
ladder, but in tournament it can be really terrifying.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that point, because it makes it specific before we jump quickly onto the next deck. It makes it specific that against tournament players, in tournament settings, can be really dangerous. Now, moving into the next deck, we do have from the opposing team, from Wombat Flingons, we have Random 7HS, the Victor Karma deck, which you went a little bit more in depth into what it can do. So I'm kind of, everyone is interested in what this deck potential can be.
Okay, we're looking at this deck. By the way, the deck loading screen sponsored by Runeterra are lets you basically see everything of the deck, the numbers of common, rare, epic champion card that you need, the mana
Yeah.
curve, of course, the region splash of the deck, and can grant you a very clear see of what this deck is and what this deck can do. And yeah, as I mentioned before, like this is a pretty hectic deck. It runs, of course, it's more on the control side of a deck. We see a lot of removals, a lot of board control with the Deny, Spirit Refuge, Will of Ionia. It can maintain the control of a board pretty easily. It runs also Eye of the Dragon, and as I mentioned while I was talking with you before we started the stream, this deck can absolutely OTK you in one single turn if you allow the victor to get to a certain point of stacks when it may have like scout, elusive, it might like 2 or 3 more keywords that can really change the game. This
Yeah,
deck
and
can
I'm
be a
glad.
very, very powerful tool against midrange.
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you bring up the OTK potential from this deck because I've been playing quite a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel now that it came out. I was always an enthusiast of it, but I've been playing a bit and I'm experienced the 1TK, the OTK potential. And honestly, this is the kind of decks that you really, really don't want to play against because it can just mess you up completely in one turn, and it's something that can tilt away a lot of players. So this deck, having it in your answer in your arsenal, can be quite dangerous and can be honestly quite fun if you're on the side that will use it. So I'm excited if we get a chance to see it. Sometimes we don't, but it's an interesting deck to keep our eyes on and potentially see play from it. Now that we have seen both decks, we can move on to a little bit of what tonight will bring for everyone that is watching. Because as of today, or for the first time today, we will get some giveaways for everyone that is watching. We will be giving away 500 Riot coins, if I'm not wrong on the term. I think it is right. It's Riot coins, right? Just to be 100% sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's Riot
So
Coins, and we're gonna elect 5 winners.
exactly.
At the end of today, we're gonna run giveaway in 3 different sections of the stream.
Yeah.
One giveaway at the end of the first best of 3, one giveaway at the start of the second best of 3, and the final giveaway at the end of the stream. So, guys, mind to write exclamation mark giveaway in the chat and get a chance to win 500 LPs.
Yeah, it'll be at those moments. So we'll announce or we'll tell you when the moment will be so that you will get an opportunity to write it down in the chat and then we'll announce the winners. But those will be the 5 instances. So as of today, be excited, be ready. You will get prizes apart from watching great games. And thanks, Don Riot, for giving this chance to us to give away those kinds of things.
Yeah, and as we might want to talk about the matchup for today, the first matchup of this best of 3, we're gonna see Team Space versus Wombats Flingen. And I actually have a little bit of a story to tell you guys
Ooh.
before we get into the best of 3, because I basically forced Team Space into playing this best of 3. Because I was in a Discord chat with James F the other day, and he was telling me how it wasn't still decided who this stream was gonna feature, and since I knew I was gonna cast it, I basically forced him into like applying to be streamed today. Unfortunately, like it is for me, we're not gonna see James in the best of 3, but we're gonna see one of his very skilled comrades in Squeeby, which is a very, very strong player and streamer from the AM Shard. And basically, it's my first AM streamer that I've ever followed. So it's going to be a super fun match.
Yeah, with the background story, honestly, it just makes it a little bit more hype. Maybe not just because of the fact that these are two teams that are actually really close in standing. So whoever wins can just get such an important lead leading into playoffs. But also, like you're telling, because now this is a kind of a must-win match since you're going to be the one that everyone is going to be watching tonight. So this is going to be pretty fun. And speaking of the standings, we need to see not only the fact that the winner, like I was saying, can get a lead, but they're also really close in games. Like the game difference is something that we do need to take into account. And right now, Team Space Powers does have the lead in game difference, but Team Wombat Dragons is not that far away. So if they can sweep or get some advantages today, can be quite meaningful. We will be now jumping into the pick and ban though. We have Squeeby, where one of the players that we were highlighting on the deck against Random 7 AHS. So we have both highlighted decks going into play right now. And looking at the decks that we have selected for each of these players, which would you be more comfortable going against, or which would you rather ban away if it were you?
Okay, if I'm random, honestly, I would be banning Aphelios Fizz, because even though the deck isn't loved by every competitive players
Yep.
I spoke with, it's a very controversial one. Like many players don't think it's very good. Many others are very, very, very strong on the fact that this deck is nuts. But anyways, this deck has tons of win condition. If you're expert enough on piloting it, can win basically against anything except Pantheon Yumi, because we know Pantheon Yumi is the unspoken terror of the lineups in this meta. Like you're bringing completely anti-control or anti-aggro lineups, and then you find yourself against Pantheon Yumi, you're not gonna have a good time.
Sounds like a fair assessment of the situation. And even though you mentioned the Face Affiliates, which we had last week, it was a deck that we saw a bit, and it was potentially a really powerful deck if it gets its chance to shine and stack up. It wasn't, it didn't end up getting the win, if I'm not wrong, but this time around it's going to get a chance to be played because it's the Chase looks that we highlighted that it's getting banned away. And it's kind of understandable. It's a deck that can find a lot of power and a lot of pressure onto some players. And even though the Viego deck is still up for random 7HS, it's still a deck that you can play and get a victory from.
Yeah, exactly. And now, if we look at what Squeeby could ban, we have the Viego. The mono Viego list is actually the terror of ladder at the moment. Maybe the strongest deck of the meta if you go blind against anything else. Because it has very, very solid matchups. It can get a win basically against anything else in the meta, and I think could be a target ban. But, anyways, also the Karma Victor Zoe, if you're not comfortable against a very value oriented matchup, you could ban it. Or Listen Aphelios, we see this is the natural evolution that that Lee Sin went through after Zoe. Lee Sin got basically insta killed by
The
the
good old
Crescending
times.
change. So, and this is gonna the deck that's gonna be banned because it's basically it's basically Lee Sin Zoe, but in a new, more value oriented form.
Yeah, and I'm kind of fine with the banning of the Fleas and Aphelios because I always go into this kind of matchups or the potential matchups like with the Viego in the sense that maybe you're more comfortable playing against something that you have consistently played against, right? Like if you play a lot of times against the Viego, you will have some tricks or some knowledge about how to play against it. But if you play against niche decks that you essentially have
Yep.
never seen, it may be much more difficult to play against it because, like we're saying, you've never seen it. So I think that's the idea going into this matchup against random 7HS with leaving up the Viego so that because you know how to play against it, you may find it easier.
Yeah, it's a very tough bet to make though,
Yeah.
because Viego, we have seen it times and times before in multiple tournaments, in multiple streams, is a very difficult deck to beat. Can have answers to anything. It has to stabilize it through the early game, and against Squibby decks, can do it very well against Monoshirima, cannot do it very, very well against Fizaphilius. Also, Monoshirima, if you can flip Xerath absolutely annihilates every chance of Viego to flip, because Xerath says every unit that dies gets obliterated instead. So Viego cannot activate its effect, and it's absolutely done for the Viego list.
Yeah, it's a really determined counter that may work out if it's played correctly. So we're really excited to see how does it execute, how does it play out, and who will get the upper hand in each. Now, this is another potential question that I want to throw into you. Which deck would you rather play first to try and leave around if you were either player?
Ooh, this is a very tough question. I think Squibby could go with Monoshirima first, because then if you can win with Monoshirima consistently, then Fizafilius, as you mentioned, has the opportunity to be like much more adaptive into the matchup. You can have different win condition for against different decks, and you can get the win out in a very difficult matchup on paper. If you lose with if you get like Monoshirima as your last deck to win against the first deck for the opponent, then it's gonna be kind of difficult for you because it has more polarized matchups in that sense. So Monoshirima could win against either decks.
So yeah, like it can be what would you call it?
Mhm.
Like the ace for you to try and get everything done to try and win effectively
Ooh.
or to just define you and have good start so that you can then clear up with the Fizz Aphelios, which it depends on the
Yep.
player, obviously, but we are now getting into game with both decks. We do get Fizz Aphelios to start from Squeeby and from Random 7HS. We get the Karma Victor, which we highlighted, so we get the chance to see it, and I'm really excited to seeing how both of these decks execute against each other.
Yeah, and the very important thing that we see from Squeeby is already the combo Rainbow Fish plus X. Instead, we opt into mulliganing it away. We want value, we want the Fizz. And Fizz in this matchup is kind of an unkillable unit, you know? It's kind of, you cannot commit any spell against the Fizz because everything would be, of course, negated by Fizz's passive. So if you can get this Fizz on board and if you can buff it also maybe with like Paper Dragon, this becomes a very, very scary unit.
Yeah, like getting the face, and not only getting just the face at the start, but also having an alternative in case something goes completely wrong for the face, right? Like it's not necessarily that you will lose it, but if you do lose it, you have the alternative in hand with the second face. So already having a lot of potential power at the start from Squeeby, as well as just having the Affilio. So setting up really nicely for the initial hand, and even though the victory is up for random 7HS, it's not like you will get enough value soon enough so that you can begin stacking or countering these face Affilios.
Yeah, I completely agree with you here. And the feeds, you mentioned you have the second one. In this kind of matchup, you don't usually use the fizz as a second one. You use the second fizz as a rally. Because if you get a paper dragon on your own fizz, and you're always going to have spell mana up to protect it, the opponent doesn't have any real way to get rid of it unless Victor has elusive. So you're just basically just winning out of double attack elusive attacking his Nexus. It could be
Yeah.
an insane out for Squeeby to take advantage of.
Yeah. Now we do need to mention that Victor can get elusive as well, so it is a possibility. It's not common, but it's a possibility that can happen, and we need to be ready for it in case it does happen.
Yeah, and here we have actually the choice. Do we get another Rainbow Fish? Because Rainbow Fish can be a very powerful win condition. And yes, this is going to be the choice that Squeeby is going to make. I was thinking also about the 2-2, which could be played this round, still being mana up for the Pale Cascade in case Fitz gets targeted. But yeah, this is absolutely fine here for Squeeby.
Interesting that he does give a little bit more extra health to try and get the defend through, and sometimes you do throw away some units because it's not completely necessary, but throwing resources for a normal unit to survive is something that we don't typically see. But for this time, I think for random 7HS to keep the build alive so that he can survive much more bigger attacks later on can actually be quite important.
Yep. And here immediately we go and shut down the threat to our win condition, which is going to be elusive smorking the opponent, which could be the Eye of the Dragon. We immediately clear that out, and of course we hope every turn from now on that the Victor doesn't get the lifesteal keyword, and the elusive is going to be the first. Man, this Victor already shutting down the primary win condition from Squeeby.
Yeah, it's always that you always have to keep in mind with this Victor. We did talk about it, right? Like Victor can shut this down. He can get the keyword and can be effective. Now, if it does happen, it's going to be quite good for random 7HS. If not, it's still manageable, but it's so good that he gets it early because the elusive is going to be so important for Squeeby to be able to play around, and now even attacking the Aphelios as well.
I mean, in at least here we can get a stun off on the Victor to get more damage in. This is still a possibility. We can stun this Victor over and over again as long as we have an Aphelios on board. We could even try to save these Aphelios to make a random commit more, but he has the second Victor. Second Victor here is a very, very cheap removal, which can be very, very important here. But if it's get committed, we can punish it with second Play Cascade.
Yeah, like the thing that random 7HS has to keep in mind especially is that yes, you may have a secondary victor to play around with, but there's a lot of potential from a Squeeby to just deny that secondary victor as well. Like you can get it destroyed completely. So if that happens, now if you lose both victors potentially, you're losing quite a lot of your potential win condition, which is not something you want to play against. So you have to be pretty careful about what you commit and what you don't commit.
Ooh, and super interesting line here from Random. It doesn't actually go for the kill on either the Fizz or the Aphelios, but does go for the kill on the Librarian. Librarian that now cannot block on the bot, on the ballistic bot. So now either we trade the Aphelios for the ballistic bot, or we get 7 damage in from the opponent.
He's getting
And
damage.
this is
Yeah,
gonna
he's
be the
getting
choice.
damage.
Squibby knows he's the beatdown most likely in this matchup. Doesn't care that much about the damage that he takes. He cares about the damage that he has to do.
Yeah, and I actually that's why I really like the idea to just go for the Barbarian, because having that extra defensive capability is something that you always value, because sometimes even if you have the extra cards on hand, you don't want to throw away your champion just because. So it's really a really good idea to just make it so that the damage will stick onto Squeeby, and he gets quite a bit of it already. So at 12 Nexus health, even though it's not the worst of situations for Squeeby, it's quite nice to see that you're forcing Squeeby into a tough decision already.
Yeah, and especially as you mentioned, this kind of champion. Like you mentioned, you don't want to lose the champion. You don't
Yeah,
want to lose your primary value generator. You know, you don't want to lose
exactly.
the champion that can create you over and over again. Stans, potential new units with Crescendum, Calibrums to get rid of opponents' engines. Like Aphelios is super super strong in this matchup. Especially, it's gonna be pivotal to maintain the control of the board. And if you don't get it on the board, and if you don't make him get his value done, you're in a tough spot.
Yeah, that's why I really like the decision at the end there to force a tough decision out of Squeeby. And now, even though we are going to get potentially the stun onto the victor, or to get some value out of the victor, it is still trying to kill the Aphelios. Now another salvaging of the Aphelios, which I really like. Like Squeeby has to keep these Aphelios alive as much as possible for that value.
Yeah. Instead, random a little bit a little bit low on cards at this point. May even consider playing the Karma here to get some free spells in hand.
How much?
I
How
would
much?
absolutely consider the Karma.
I'm quite curious here because yeah, the karma may be a good throw to put into the field, but how easy would it be, or how hard would it be for Squibby to be able to get rid of the karma
This
from
is
extra
huge.
claw?
Yeah, this is huge from random. Like Spirit Refuge, Squibby clearly wasn't playing around it. So, okay, there are 2 cards on my opponent's hand. Do I have to really play around Spirit Refuge, even though here it's so good to attack with my Aphelios? The answer was yes, but it was pretty unlikely that random had it. In the end, Squibby was the one to get punished for the play.
Yeah, it feels like a tough choice, honestly, because even though Squibby may think about it, like it's a tough, it's a decision that you have to actually opt for, because if not, it will come to a stalemate where neither is benefiting, and I think at that point, random just getting the extra augments just gets better and better.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you here. And Crescendum might be played. Squibby here is probably opening into some kind of comeback. It's not gonna be easy for him. Like at this point, this victory is huge. Can take value trades with Challenger on any unit that gets played. Ooh. And level up comes in for the victor.
Yeah, this is just such a strong point right now for random. Like he can decide
Emote
whatever he
play.
wants to do.
Yeah, and here we see the emote play from the 2 players, also a very, very important part of the game. Don't forget about it. You have to show dominance also on mental, not just in the game itself.
In game and out of game dominance.
Yep. I mean, there are both like you have to build up the spirit and the body, to have balance.
Actually trying
But
to
yeah,
like
this is a very tough spot to play
yeah.
if you're Squibby, because the opponent's victory is so big. Like we mentioned, if this match gets to the late game, like random has too much value. The only problem for random would be running out of cards in hand, but we know we could play the Karma, and Karma gives us 1 more spell every single turn. And even though those spells aren't always great, let's be honest, they are still value.
Yeah, like it's better to have something than have nothing. And when you're running into a situation where you're almost without cards, like getting those extra cards is always quite nice. Another attack coming through. I don't think there's much that Squibby will try to do here.
I mean, there is
Look,
literally nothing.
yeah.
I mean, I guess you could buff the Grandfather Fate to get more damage in on the Victor, but this is not gonna be the play for Squeeby. You could use the Cloud Stance, but I guess you want to use it if you top deck the Paper Dragon, more likely than not.
Yeah, like it's a really tough call here, especially now that even the karma is pulled off. So getting that extra value in terms of spells, so random will always have something to play against you, and it's just hard to think what Squibby can do. Like unless he gets one really crucial pull off the top
Oh, look at
deck.
the spell! Look at the spell that gets played. Actually, can decide to draw more. Like that is a 4 mana draw 3 kind of spell, which is insane to think about.
I'm just like I honestly feel like we're just waiting too quickly on this. If I'm honest. Although Affiliate does get the level up, like
I mean, Aphelios get the level up. We can get another. We can get a God Gravitum potentially. We can stun lock the Aphelios in the next few turns potentially. We have an Ash, which can be pivotal. We want to actually heal back up from now on. I think it's only fair to do that, to play the Severum on the fields. Or on the Aphelios. I think Aphelios, since it has quick attack here, it's a much better choice than Fizz as a quick attack target. You can just
yeah.
be sure that the opponent is never going to block it or value trade it. But yeah, here we have to get some of health back because we are starting to get into lethal range from the opponent with just burn.
Yeah, so the kind of thing that I'm thinking right now is, can Squeeby survive for the next 2 turns? So with his attack and the enemy's attack. If he can survive that, I can see him finding a potential comeback with the Aphelios already level up, the base level up as well, and a lot of value in hand. But if he can't, I just think that the next turn may be it. If he cannot survive that one.
Yep, I absolutely agree with you on that. But you're gonna see Aphelios elusive. At least we have an elusive 7/6 quick attack Aphelios.
Yeah, like he has everything. Like the Aphelios has the things to be able to pull it out. So it's on the next turn. It's on the next turn. How I think I see this. It's on the next turn to be able to pull it off.
Yeah. And these are gonna be 13 damage, which I don't think are gonna be blocked. I mean, you can block with the 1/1 elusive, and then you're gonna be punished by the Ash potentially. So I think that Squeeby might actually be in a position to do the comeback, to pull it off.
Yeah, it's not actually
That Ash top deck, that Ash top deck meant everything.
Yeah, quite legitimately. It's always important to mention how a card can certainly change a lot of things. Like obviously not to put it into the just RNG factor, but those top decks can really be important, especially if you know how to play around it. So really nice from seeing a potential comeback from a Squeeby here.
Yeah, especially since you can also pull away from the elusive attackers then in your next attack turn with a Chum the Waters.
Yeah.
Actually, feed the spell coming in super clutch here. You put willingly the overwhelm on the feeds so that even if blocked, can give you a free spell, can give you the chance to put vulnerable on the Aphelios. This is 5th line of play from random, from Squeeby.
Yeah, like
And
they
random,
pulls it off well.
yeah, like random here, his only hope is to get spell shield again, and he doesn't get it.
Oh, now it's silent. This is such a good comeback from a Squeeby if he pulls it off. Like, it's still not done yet. Like it's still not 100% done. But it's been played so nicely by the Squeeby to set up for his potential comeback here. And it's not like I don't want to say necessarily that Random has not been playing around this correctly, but it just feels like Squeeby has done a much better job with what he got so far.
I mean, I think both players are playing to their outs. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, it's not like Random can do much more than he's currently doing. He has the Karma on board, he has the leveled up Victor that got a 1,000 keywords, you got your value trades with Challenger, you controlled the board, you got safely through the early game, you did what you were supposed to do
Exactly.
if you're random, but now suddenly the opponents have stopped the one card that could prevent you from OTKing him in this last turn, and suddenly you are the beatdown. You are the one that's trying not to be one-shotted next round.
Yeah, like this, it's a surprising turn of events, but a welcome one. If I'm honest, like it's fun seeing this completely 180 situation where we see how both players can handle it. And it was Squibby at first that had to handle the imminent loss potential. Now it's on random with the potential from that as well. It does get back. You do get the karma level up, which is quite nice from random. But
I mean, karma is has to be immediately killed. You know,
yeah.
you have to immediately pull the karma with the Philios and be absolutely certain to kill it. Instead, you are pulled. Wait, Squibby here is trying to get another moon weapon.
From darkness.
Does he want to clear some of the board with it or give some more value?
I think he is just gonna potentially gravitum this victory if he doesn't get spell shield. I think might be the better play that you can do. And yeah, no spell shield on the victory, but there is the life steal, and I think this is gonna be a forced gravitum.
And you do have to. Yeah, it feels like it has to be committed.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna come soon. You just have to commit another spell, potentially Pokestick, either Face or as we see, Librarian. But instead, it was the Infernum. Ooh, and the Aphelios, if you look carefully, cannot for sure block the Aphelios because it could get traded. Yes, of course we have the +6 health for the Karma. Karma leveled up here changes basically everything about the logic of the game. And I don't know if Squibby can pull it off. I don't know, this Karma, maybe too much.
Yeah, the Karma actually coming in an important moment. Like the level up from the Karma actually coming in an important moment and not having that potential weapon for the videos can actually be dangerous. I'm surprised he didn't even use the Pokestick, if I'm honest.
I mean, we do have the rally.
The Master Vision, yeah.
If we want. Yeah, and I think rally is gonna be the pivotal. Like, if you now commits on the victor, you can just rally on the Fizz. Wait a moment, you can rally on the Fizz.
Will he do it? Will he commit on it or not?
I think we have to. I don't think we have a choice.
It's just us.
I think that that's the idea, but not sure if it's going to be the end. Like the actual attempt here. Like, what else can you opt into? No, it seems like not.
Wait, does this actually save the 5-2? Does it? It doesn't. Wait a second. What is going on here?
What was there, actually?
Ooh, I don't know what Squibby just tried to do. Maybe though I'm the one not seeing the play. Maybe I'm the one not seeing the out, honestly. But yeah, like for Elusive Blogger now, a bit too much. Next round, we can actually survive. Okay, we can actually potentially survive here. Potentially. If we get another Ash top deck.
That sounds like a lot, no? Quite a bit you're asking for here.
Okay, trinket trade. We can still find it. It's a three or less cost spell. We could find it at burst speed.
Okay, another Pokestick apart from that.
It doesn't save us at all. Pokestick
no.
doesn't help us.
Yeah.
Let's see. We open the. I think we're just hoping on the trinket trade, and if it doesn't work, it's gonna be GG. It doesn't work. GG random 7 HS with the Karma Victor. I love Karma piles. I was actually the biggest Ezreal Karma fan back then. Now it's not playable anymore, but I still love to see Karma being played. Yeah, we invoke, but unfortunately, no invoke spell can save us
Yep.
on a stack. Everything is either slow or you need to be committed. And this is gonna be GG. The Papercraft Dragon coming in too little, too late, and Random HS leads the series for 1-0.
Yeah, in a really contested match where Squeeby seemed to be able to almost pull it off. Like it started with Random playing it super nicely, pulling it off really well, playing controlled and taking the picture to the spot that should be a certain win, but Squeeby almost pulling it off quite nicely as well. It was a really back and forth match, and I'm glad we got to see so well how both of the players wanted to play around with their decks because it wasn't close at all. Like I feel like anyone could have taken that, and if not for another potential top deck that maybe could have saved Squeeby, we will maybe get another potential win in this time around. It's for Squeeby instead.
Yep. Like, especially I think Karma was the very pivotal unit in that matchup. Like, once Karma is flipped, it's GG. There is no room for Savior or for the side of Squeeby. And also Karma generating randomly the draw 3, cost 4 spell for random. It was a great help for his deck. And we're into the second match. It seems like Mono Viego against, again, this Pizzaphilius.
This is going to be a harsh matchup for Squeeby, but I feel like he can pull it off. Like based on the previous one, like there's a good chance that they can pull it off if he plays accordingly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. Like this deck, as we mentioned, is super adaptable in basically any kind of matchup. And we see, okay, both players emote game. Yeah, emoting and some Zillion here and there, some Shen, GG emote. Like, of course, a lot of respect between the players. Like, they know each other, they scream each other. Both on the AM shard, of course, incredibly strong players. And I'm honored, actually, to be able to cast them. Because, like, literally, we are seeing some of the very best of the best from the America shard here.
Yeah, it's always nice being able to get some of the better matchups that we have in Runeterra, like coming from last season at least. It's nice watching what these players can do, what can they add, and what can they bring, especially in a format that is not common in the Legends of Runeterra circuit, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Runeterra just popularized it, you know. Like the 4v4 actually 3v3 because like one player gets a rest week. You know, you get a rest week. But yeah, it's very incredible how they have to get creative to forge their lineup, to scout their opponents, to be really clever about what they play and why they run it in their lineup. So I think this is a super nice circuit.
Yeah, we do have just to mention in because we do get the notice, but we have from the other matchups Filthy Gamer 2-0ing Beast Llama, so putting an advantage. I need to see because I'm not sure which team it was for, but I think it's for Team Space Powers. Okay, just quickly watching.
And in the meantime, Squeeby is already developing the first, as we mentioned, win condition potentially that he has in this kind of matchup. You see, the random's deck can, of course, potentially deal with elusives with Quicksand, but, you know, cannot deal with attached elusives, because then Quicksand doesn't work anymore, and you can't block them, you can't give them vulnerability to your blockers, but instead here, we're just opting to trade it down immediately. This is super important that this trade must go well for random to have a chance to slow down their opponent's game plan. And in fact, it does.
It's all about this snowballing effect. How well can you play around it, or how well can you use it? And I think Random doing a really nice job to make it as small as possible, so that Squeeby has to take a little bit longer to get what he wants to go rolling.
Yeah, and especially like we know, of course, attached units come back into hand. That's a very nice mechanic. Like it helps you not lose so much value, but at the same time, playing a 4-mana unit again on board is so expensive. it puts you so down on tempo plays. So it was super important that that attached unit was traded down so quickly, especially since it was basically this deck's River Shaper, if you remember River Shaper from Fiora Shen times,
Good old
the
times.
good old times.
Yeah.
Yeah, the good old times of Fiora Shen. I mean, good for some, not good for many others.
Good for the ones that play the deck, bad for the others.
Yeah, I mean, if one deck can stay meta for basically 1 year and a half and stay always super high on priority in tournaments, I think there's something wrong. And we saw that multiple times also with Lee Zoe, the last
Yep.
deck that got the Fiora treatment, we could say, that absolutely killed with the Crescendum changes after
Yeah.
1 year of domination.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not even mad against it. Like, I experienced that firsthand on the previous season of Legends of Runeterra, of Aegis Legends of Runeterra, and so I'm actually quite glad that it does happen. That is so much attention trying to destroy this.
Ooh, okay. Really nice chain from Squib here, preventing the opponent from drawing. You don't want the opponent to draw nor the Viego nor any more cards, because if the opponent is basically forced into display, you know, their hand is not actually that good. And in fact, Random doesn't have, his late game units doesn't have the very pivotal unit in the Hydravin. Hydravin basically decides this matchup is a +2 on board consistently that ramps up your Viego, basically auto levels him up in a few turns, and it's super important in this matchup. But here it doesn't get played, even though you have very, very strong play in the Camavoran Soldier plus Merciless Hunter in the same turn, which are gonna take very, very nice trades and give your Viego a decisive plus on his level up. I think this game
He has
might
to
be
defend.
over just from this.
Fear not.
Yeah, like, he has to defend 100% at least the Viego, because if not, like, it's game over. But even then,
I mean, I think instead you have to. You might be thinking of getting value trades, because if you block the
Yeah.
Viego and you don't, exactly. Like, you have to block as much damage as possible, but at the same time you have to kind of try to defend the board advantage, or at least not to give the opponent such an overwhelming board advantage that you can win with like Viego attacking alone. So you have to trade basically everything down. The Camavoran Soldier is still there, but at 1 HP, it's not that scary. Even the Viego from next round onwards could be just walloped and stand on attack. So we are in a bad spot, but we are not in a spot as bad as it might seem
yeah, like,
from
in
the
honesty,
Squibby.
Squibby has a lot of hand power that if he can prepare and get down, like, can actually be quite powerful if he gets to play around it. So I think that it's not as bad, like you're saying, not as bad as it may seem. And if a Squibby can play around it correctly, he can find so much value, especially if he finds another Aphelios.
Yeah, but we are gonna witness the Viego level up, and I don't know how we're gonna answer to that. Like, Viego leveling up here is game, absolutely game winning. Like, not only if your fizz is too big, Viego is just killing him. No question asked.
Yep.
No fizz effect that comes into play. But if there is another big unit on our board, Viego is just stealing that for the round, and we cannot prevent it in any way.
Yeah, like, even
We
though
could
I
just see the
say,
GG actually from Squibby. Like, he knows that he cannot answer this. He is actually thinking about FF.
like, that's the thing, like, even though we say that Squibby has a chance, like, this Viego level up is huge, like you're pointing out.
Yeah,
Now, I don't
we
think
know that the random deck is basically the strongest deck in the meta, and yeah, we see what we are seeing why.
Yeah, like it feels like, even though Random has the control of it and it's potentially a game, I don't think Squibby will just FF just yet. Like, and I mean, not necessarily favor. Like, he's not completely out just yet, but the potential to make the plays happen is closing up, and it's really, really close till it's not going to be possible.
Yeah, like you see too many attack points on the opponent's side. You can barely chip the opponent's Nexus to 16 point of health, but it's nowhere near what you would have needed to do in this kind of matchup by turn 7. The opponents would have needed to be much lower, like... Okay, he's back. That's cool.
Okay.
Oh, everything went down. You should stream our. I'm not seeing the stream anymore.
There.
Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, thank you. And yes, as we mentioned, like we are seeing the giant attack from random. And yes, while we can wall up our Viego, we cannot stop the atrocity that's gonna come in
I like how
potentially
I like to
every
name it like
single
that.
turn
The
from now on.
atrocity. I actually quite like just naming it that. The atrocity that it's vehicle.
I mean, Viego is an atrocity, but we are also afraid of D cards, like,
True.
atrocity on its own. And while random doesn't have it per se at the moment, we have to be afraid of it because any round from now on, it can be just GG from an atrocity plus deny backup.
Yeah, like it's just so harsh onto Squibby. Like you're pointing out, any round can be game winning for a random unless something goes completely wrong, and even then, yeah.
Yeah, and even here, like you just deny the wall up, the Viego is gonna come down, is gonna actually strike, and it's gonna just be GG now. Not even next round, not even the round after this one. We don't need another attack turn if we can just destroy our opponent's Nexus immediately. GG for random HS, showing why this deck is such powerful choice to bring into your lineup,
Yeah.
destroying completely Squeeby's chances to win.
Like, and this feels like this game shows me how really you need to have enough confidence to be able to go against this deck, because like you're pointing out, unless you have enough confidence and enough ability to play around this, like this thing is just so strong, and we just get the perfect proof of all of that. Now Squibby with that, it's going to be a 2-0 for random. I think putting now the Wombat Flingons with a victory overall in comparison to Team Space Pokers that also got a victory previously with Filthy Gamer Whip. So quite nice that they are now 1-1, and we're just missing one last matchup that we don't have a notice yet about the last matchup. Okay, so it's rescheduled, so we're not going to get the finale of this set this time around. At least not today.
Yes. Yeah, we're not gonna get today the final say on this matchup, but as we mentioned before, we're gonna run shortly in short time a giveaway for 500 Riot coins in Legends of Runeterra. So if you have not done it yet, just do exclamation mark giveaway in the chat right now, and you might have a chance to win 500 Riot coins as giveaway.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving us this time around the giveaways, and hopefully whoever wins it can make the most out of those. I do want to know if we
And
know
some
that it's right
skin.
now or not.
We have some nice skin. Like, what's your favorite skin in Legends of Runeterra?
I'm actually not really a skin player, if I'm honest. I like the what is called the basic kind of feeling, just because I'm a Faker fan from League of Legends, so I like the
Yeah,
basic
yeah. I
feeling.
was thinking about it. Like, oh, are you a Faker fan? Like, you
Yeah.
know what's my favorite skin? Like, it may be like not one of the most chosen ones, but I think the Queen Arcade skin is actually super good. Like, it's such a good Pokemon reference, if you know what I mean. Like with the Valor being the PG sleeping. Like if you're a legend Pokemon Arceus player, you know what it means. Sneaking behind a sleeping PG just to critical capture him with a Pokeball on the head. Like it feels so rewarding.
And sadly, in some way, cannot relate because I haven't played it, but I want to, but I
Edge.
can't. So sad. But yeah, it's not a skin that I typically see. So yeah, actually, quite interesting answer.
I think it's super underrated. I honestly always play with it when I play Scouts, even though Scout is not one of my favorite decks. It's still super strong in the meta, and we might see that deck showing up either today or on the open rounds of the A Curious Journey seasonal tournaments this Saturday. In just 2 days, there's gonna be the seasonal open rounds America stream on Giant Slayer channel, and I'm so excited for it.
Yeah, for everyone that wants to join or wants to see it, like Zero mentioned, it's on the Giant Slayer channel, and yeah, like it's going to be the first taste of the best players in the server trying to square off. Maybe not the most favorite, but the favorites or the better ones, but certainly the first seed that we will get about those players. So it's going to be exciting watching what they do and what they bring to the tournament.
Yeah, especially especially since as we mentioned before, in the 21st of May, there's gonna be the seasonal playoffs, and GG for the giveaway winner. Actually, Zawardo.
Wait, it's Salwardo?
I think it. I think it might be Zawardo. If it's Zawardo, I'm gonna congratulate for him personally. Like I love, it's such a clever JoJo reference. GG for him.
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
so it's
I
not an
mean,
actual JoJo reference. God damn it. We were so close.
close, close enough for him to be a Giga Chad. So congratulations.
Okay,
Mm,
Powardo. Okay, Powardo, actually.
okay.
Okay,
Okay. Anyways, we are gonna
upstream.
have different giveaways throughout the night. The first one, as you mentioned, already got one winner. We're gonna have another one in a short time. Okay, and we're gonna have another one before the start of the second matches, and then the last one being given at the end of the stream. So stay tuned throughout all of the day to maybe win a 500 Riot Coins pack. But as I mentioned, we might gonna go into a little. Hello, everyone, again, and welcome back to tonight's action of Runeterra Aegis Team League. Here tonight, I'm always here, Zero, with my co-caster TDS, and I think we have something to tell you. There is more giveaway winners.
Yeah, we have the. I think it's the first. We're either re-announcing or announcing two new ones. I'm not sure, but yeah, winners.
Yeah,
Re-announcing. Okay, so do we have the name? Like it was Bordeaux and.
bah.
Ba-
Yeah, and Fra. Word and Fra were the first two winners of 500 Riot Coins packages. So GG for them. I hope they spend them on very nice skins, maybe on wildcards. Who knows? Based on what they need or what they like to play in Legends of Runeterra, there are a lot of options to spend your Riot Coins with. I think all are like very good ones. And yeah, I hope they find the best way to optimize their coins.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that you can get. You can even save them. That's an option. Not a lot of people do it, but that's an option. So that's that as well. And speaking of things that you can do right now, apart from just getting skills, you can watch the next matchup because we will be going into set two with Worldwide Wombat. Yeah, Worldwide Wombats and TA Hydra Black. A matchup that, like the previous one, has a lot of things that will define the standings for playoffs and what both teams need. So a victory tonight is going to be quite good to get.
Yeah, as you mentioned, in both teams, of course, two of the best teams in their groups. We know, like Team Hydra, of course, always dark horse to win it all. Like both last season, they did very well this season as well. They are doing super good. They're insanely strong players, or very high on ladder, or very skilled on their matchups. I know they scream a lot. They have also other TA teams to scream with. On the other end, as you mentioned, another section of the wobbly wombats. Like the
One
other
of the
wobbly
many.
wombats team, there are too many. Yes, exactly. There are too many. There are too many wombats. And as I said,
Yeah,
how the heck do they keep getting these weird names for their teams? The other were the Flingons. This one is the worldwide.
yeah.
There's so many, but they're so good at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot. But before we go into it, because I went a little bit too fast and I didn't mention this, but to remind you all that at the end of this set, or this set, we will be having the secondary giveaway. So reminder, exclamation giveaway to get to participate for that secondary giveaway at the end. Remember that. Oh wait, is it now? Okay, forget about what I said. And right now, exclamation giveaway, go for it. You will get the chance. I'm getting pressured by Hirsch, so please be patient with me.
Yeah, don't worry. Like we are getting the information from the production team
Yeah.
as we go into the stream. And yeah, while we are waiting for the results of the second giveaway, we are gonna get into the deck highlights for
Yeah.
this next matchup. And first is the Fizz, the Twisted Fate Nami from Monte Cristo. And what can you tell about?
I feel one of the interesting decks that will be a lot of throwing away or putting, not throwing away, I don't like, not necessarily the term, but like trying to pull up a lot of cards, a lot of mana spend, trying to get the most use of your spells with a lot of cheap damage that you would like to do on the Nexus with the weak kind of units that you will get, but a lot of spell focus and a lot of just generation of cards and mana to just get the most on. This is a deck that I find kind of interesting because I don't think that it's necessarily just a kind of late game deck. I feel like there's a lot of early prowess that it can show and a lot of mid game prowess as well. So I'm kind of interested in seeing if we will get the chance to play with this. And I feel like it can find quite a few good matchups that it can play around with.
Yeah, this is a very interesting mix of GE Shellfolk and the foregone, the gone, the done and dusted Fitz TF. You have the wiggle barbel fishes. You have also that very aggressive side of the Nami that came into play in the Nami Zoe decks.
Yep.
And this deck is basically a melting pot of all this kind of different strategy. Is a mix of all different cards, different inputs. I think can be very versatile in the way it can play. Of course, it has the value route with the Curious Shellfolk. It has the very smorky route with both trinket trade into discounting the barbel fish, into buffing it with Admiral and Nami. Kind of quite different few paths into victory, and I think it's a very skilled deck. And Monte Cristo, I think he is one of the best players in the EM shard. He's a friend of mine. I think
A
he's
caster as well.
Yes, a caster legends casting with me also the EMEA Runeterra Aegis, and I think is also being casting some of the AM action here. So
Yep.
I think if there is anyone that could pull off this think of versatile deck, it's him.
Yeah, it does bring a really exciting potential deck to the matchup, and like you're pointing out, Monte Cristo, one of the better players to showcase this kind of deck. Now, to go to the next highlighting deck, to the next really interesting deck that we'll get tonight, maybe potentially on stream, maybe not, from 4LW from TA Hydra Black, we have the Yumi Udyr, which you were able to get a little bit more insight into, and I'm really interested because Udyr and Yumi sounds like a mix that I wouldn't want to play against, if I'm honest.
Yeah, this is a super spicy deck, and you can see and you can see it is super strange. It could be super strange champion pairing to think about, but in
Yep.
reality, this deck is just a different version of the OTK list that is Fizz Aphelios potentially. Like you can see, it runs Battle Furies, it runs the Rainbow Fishes to give your unit, of course, elusive, and with Udyr you can give them also more attack, more stats, potentially overwhelm. This is super, super OTK oriented list, aggressive kind of control of the board with the very cheap units. Like your top end is a 4 mana costs unit and only 1/5 mana card in Udyr. Basically, of
Yep.
course, you have Battle Fury, but that's the finisher. And I think like this deck showcase from Runeterra AR really shows how powerful this deck could be if played by a very skilled player. Like even here, like the word I think in this week matchup is creativity. Like you have
Yep.
the creativity of flex and create your own win condition, even though you're not running like cream of the crop decks or super mainstream ones. You can still be victorious.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you bring that up because from set one we had really straightforward decks that are kind of seen already, that are really prevalent and are really strong. And in this matchup, we're getting much more, like you're pointing out, creativity, much more variety, much more flexibility in terms of what they want to bring out. And I'm really glad that we're getting this because if we get a glimpse of this deck actually in action, it can be really, really fun. Just to add on to the Udyr Yumi, because I feel like this deck reminds me a little bit of what the Dragons of old or the Lee Sin Zoe was at some point. That one kill potential from just the deck, the pure strength that you get at one point, and just immediately destroy the immediate destroy potential that you get with the Udyr as well, just feels like that kind of vibe. And I think that if 4LW can get to that point, if he gets to play this deck, then can be really, really strong. So I'm really, really excited to be able to see this deck in action if we get it.
Yep. Me too, as I mentioned, I love creativity in decks. I love the type of deck that allows players to show all of their skill and to like not only match an equal opponent, but outmatch them, outskill them with their own point of strengths, with their own abilities to shape the game, to think about the game maybe in a different way
Yep.
From other players. Like super interesting to see all the various takes in the game. And I think Legends of Runeterra is one of the few card games that allows you to do it. Like if you think about it, how many decks do we have in the meta? Like okay,
There's actually
ladder
quite
meta. Because ladder
there's
meta
actually
is a
quite a few, yeah.
thing. Yep. Because as you know, like ladder meta, like the meta that you play to climb
Yep.
and get LPs is one thing, but tournament meta is whole another beast. Like you
Yeah.
get a ton of variety. You can play basically whatever you want because all that matters in the end, and it's also what I expect to see in open rounds in seasonal is comfort, is
Yeah, and
creativity, is what you know you can make work.
yeah, and I actually like that you bring the tournament meta part because we did talk a little bit about it previously, but for this particular format, because on Aegis Legends of Runeterra, we have a format for the next phase where you actually have to be even more careful about what you pick because you're going to play a King of the Hill kind of style. So it's even more important to know what decks can you bring and what niche would be kind of ideal to play around with. Now, to mention for the giveaway, because some of you were participating, we have the winners. We have Average Runeterra Enjoyer as one of the winners, and just EBVTV. I'm not sure if I read that right, if it's correct, but I'll read it as that. Just EBBTV won as well. So congratulations to both of you. And we're still running one more giveaway, I think at the end of the broadcast. So stay for that.
Yeah, stay tuned definitely for that. And average winter enjoyer, I think we can basically get into his mind pretty quickly. Like I'm an average winter. I think I'm a little above average winter enjoyer, to be honest. I may watch Runeterra a little bit too much. I may also
Me,
play Runeterra a little bit too much. But I think like it's a very cool. It's a very cool nick. Like definitely shows love for the game. But
I'm
meanwhile,
surprised you
we
got
get
it.
into the deck selection screen.
Yeah, we're getting now into the matchup. Monte Cristo, one of our highlighted decks. I'm sorry if I'm reading this wrong, but I think it's Monte Cristo, right? Like
Yes.
yeah, Monte Cristo, and Ian Nogueira from Team Ambition Hydra Black with the Sixalia, the TF Nami, and Cillian Echo from Monte Cristo, and the Zion, Draven, Rumble, Fizz, Philios, and Pantheon Yumi, which you talked a little bit about previously from Ian Nogueira. I'm really excited to see what does go through.
Yeah, basically, Yanuguera here is taking a little bit of a like meta counter lineup because both Yumi Pantheon and of course, as we mentioned, also Draven Sion. Even though we have some Rumble Tech in, could be very very strong against mid-range opponents because of the ability to take control of the board, take value trades, get very very big, and be very difficult to deal with. On the other hand, we have a control target lineup from Monte Cristo. Definitely control targeting
Yeah.
with Talia Ziggs. We mentioned that Dex absolutely dismantles Freljord Shadow Wilds. Zilean Echo, actually, list that I've seen many players being very high on. Deck that seems to be like super skilled, has very few matchups. One of them, though, being Yumi Pantheon. And as you mentioned, this very eclectic and particular, not much seen TF Nami that I'm very curious about. I think if you're Yano Guerra, you might be thinking about banning it because you don't know what you're going up against.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where if you don't have much info, it's maybe better to take it away, especially if there's much more plan for the other two decks. But it's also at the same time that I can kind of see you leaving it open because I actually think that there's quite a good matchups here that can play well. I actually think Draven Sion can be quite good against it as well. So if there's a
Yep.
good chance, if there's a chance that Draven Sion is not banned away, I can see leaving open the TF Nami.
I think you could ban if you're Monty. You could ban the Pantheon Yumi just because it's so strong, so dominant, so powerful potentially. If you give it the time to grow tall and tall and tall, like we know, this deck doesn't go wide, but grows vertically at an insane rate. And if you cannot counter it with Swarm, if you cannot counter it with World Presence, you're just gonna lose from it. But as you mentioned, Driven Scion, of course, historically being very very good against Swarm decks potentially because the Swarm decks usually don't have many fearsome blockers, don't have very good overrun blockers, so your strikes are gonna go through, your damage is gonna go through, and eventually your Scion is gonna be able to close out the game.
Yeah, and in all honesty, one of my favorite decks to watch because the win condition is so defined and so clear that playing around it and trying to get to that point is always so fun to see. But in a meta where there's a lot of mid range and control, like I can just see this deck spiraling so heavily and getting so much done. So I feel like this is such a good opportunity to be able to use this deck. And even though you bring the Pantheon Yumi, which it's a good enough ban that we can see, we can also see the Draven Sion getting banned away. And I wouldn't be surprised if it gets banned away as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen much of this Ecozillion. Like, I don't know if you know how Ecozillion wins. Ecozillion is basically an aggro to combo deck.
Yeah.
Actually, many people think about it as a mid-range, but it's really not. It wants to get like these two attack turns, like a turn 5, a turn 6 potentially. When you get the parallel conversions, when you get the echo level up spell on in hand, you then attack, and even though some of your units might be traded down, you can just rally and summon your units again. It's insanely strong, and in fact, we see that deck banned probably
Yeah.
because we knew if we were Yanguera that our opponent's ban would be on Yumi Pantheon, and I think it makes
Yep.
perfect sense.
Yeah, I think not really surprising the two events that we were seeing here. We did talk about the TF Nami potentially there, but I think the Cillian Echo as well was a threat that could happen. And I was thinking about it actually because I think we saw it in the previous season as well, the Cillian or the Cillian Echo kind of deck. And I actually am remembering now. I think we saw a glimpse of it previously, so it's interesting seeing it once again and getting it banned away. It's sad that we don't get to see the full action of it, but it is a deck that can be really, really dangerous if you know how to play with the deck and what can counter it. So I think that this deck could have been really dangerous today.
Yeah, and I know that Monte Cristo is very good Ecozillion player because I know one of his teammates anymore. I know him very well, and I've seen him play this deck and being very confident that it's one of the strongest deck in the format at the moment. That I knew Monte Cristo had been practicing it, and I think Jan Nogueira scouted him, knew what was going on, and decided to ban
Yeah.
it to not have this matchup to deal with. It would be insanely difficult if you don't have access to Pantheon Yumi. Basically, every other matchup in the meta is favorable to Ecozillion.
Yeah, it feels like that could be potentially the way, and that's why I'm excited to see if we are going to get a Desali and Echo matchup eventually. Maybe not, well, tonight, certainly not. It's been away, but eventually I would be really glad if we get a glimpse of it, especially when we're so close to playoffs. It's going to be something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the decks that, alongside this Talia Ziggs, of course, as we saw last BO3, the Mono Viego, this Pantheon Yumi, potentially even Aphelios feeds, I expect those decks to dominate open rounds for Curious Journey seasonal tournament this Saturday. I expect them to absolutely dominate the stats of best of 3 pick rate.
Yep, and that will also set a precedent for future weeks in Aegis of Frontera. So be sure to turn up for the stream on Saturday at, if I'm not wrong, Giant Slayer. It's going to be more than likely the one that will be transmitting that. But now jumping into game, we get Driven Cyan against the. I'm blanking on it for some reason. The
Zigzalia, yeah, the
Six
landmark deck.
Yeah, the sixth Aliyah. So a really exciting matchup already to start, and a lot of action at the start as well from Ian O'Gara already with an attack attempt.
Yeah, the one problem that we're seeing at the moment for Yanguera is that hasn't found that good of an early game curve. You know, it hasn't found like all for example, the Fallen Rider to push some fearsome damage in. Hasn't found much of his early game discard material, and as even being forced to discard actually a valuable card to play in the Zaune Turshin round 1 and draw some more. So not the greatest spot actually to be in at the moment for Yanguera, while the opponent we see the first fearsome blocker is already in hand. And it's gonna come
Yeah.
down turn 3.
Yeah, it's going to be much more on the next turn. We do have a lot of power that we're seeing already from Monte Cristo, and particularly also we have the Talia, so setting up for that landmark creation and potential that the Talia just gives. And I feel like this will start for Monte Cristo so good because like you're
I
pointing out
think
with
we
Ian
have
O'Gara.
to open though. I think
Hmm?
if we're Yano Guerra here, we absolutely have to open because
Yeah,
if we don't open, we are never pushing damage. We know that
yeah,
the Vault is coming. Like it's so basically it's super super like understandable as a play. Like
yeah,
you always know that opponent has mulligan for it. Fearsome blockers are pivotal in this kind of matchup. And
yeah.
instead
Like
he
the setup is
decides to
there.
develop the elusives. Ooh, developing the elusives.
He does put up a good enough front attack, so at least it's
Yep.
going to be quite a good attack for to start off, even if it's not going to be the most damage. But it's something to take into account. Like it's still cheap damage that you value in this kind of decks.
Yeah, it really is. But now we could start to see the super strong turns with the Desert Naturalist actually killing landmarks, getting us new units, new fearsome blockers, and from now on, it may be all downhill from Monte Cristo because we see the Thalia, which is gonna come most likely next round, multiplying the Devout landmark. And when you have two 5/3s coming down at the same time, you know that it's not going well for your for your board.
Yeah, and already forcing another huge attack, so another important defense that you have to put down. And for Yano Gamer, it's not necessarily the best of situations. Like you want to build up your board in a way that you can get a lot of attacks later on. But the fact that it's getting so like it's upside down, it feels like Monte Cristo the one that it's playing with the damage oriented kind
Yeah,
of
he
board,
seems to be
and
down,
Yano
you
Gamer
know.
the other one. Yeah,
He seems to be the one that's a bit on. And in theory, like it's not that far from the truth because without quicksands, without very big units, you are kind of losing potentially to the Cyan. But we have the landmines. We just draw into the quicksand, so we are absolutely fine, even against our opponent's top end.
yep. And trying to just add more to that potential damage. But here comes the Lilia, the landmark that we talked about. It's just, and even the level up coming in. Like, it's just so good. Like, it feels like Monte Cristo has done everything perfectly to set up for this moment. And Diano Guerra just seems that has missed a little bit on the timing to play around his deck.
Yeah, we mentioned it. Like he needed the early game curve. He needed more fearsome attackers. He needed to put pressure on Monte Cristo, but Monte Cristo could actually develop a big enough board to be kind of safe against all these. And yes, here Yano is actually pushing a lot of damage, which is kind of scary. But there is not enough burn in his hand to finish off the game, and I don't know if there is gonna be enough damage on the board because we have to start being really careful about our HPs. We have to block, and the opponent now could even try to play an aggressive quicksand to get rid of our fearsome blockers. I think this might be the play actually. You just quicksand the 2/3 and attack with everything, and then your 5/3s are gonna hit the Nexus, and it just could just be GG.
Yeah, and it feels like it's that. Like he has everything set up, and even if there's a little bit of damage still up, like the absolver is still there, so you can still buff up someone to deal even more damage if you actually
Yeah,
need it.
and Talia is 4 damage guaranteed. Like Talia is at least 4 damage guaranteed. So with Absolver, you have guaranteed lethal actually.
Yeah, like this just seems to be the play for Monte Cristo to close out the game. Feels like.
Okay, but it does go for the safe one. This is
Okay.
the classic safe player. You don't have to force if you're in Monte Cristo position. You have the quick sense. You can decide what the board is gonna look like for the opponent. And I think potentially we are seeing here the Absolver on the Talia though. The Absolver on the Talia would be GG as well.
Could be
Talia's
potentially.
leveled. I don't think there is any answer to Absolver.
I do want to add on to what you said though that you really don't need to overextend just because it's not necessarily. But yeah, like you pointed out, the Liad Absolver and that's it. It's GG. It all was set up perfectly by Monte Cristo. The timing window by Enoguera wasn't played around with, and I feel like that's the biggest issue, right? Because you have such an aggro deck, a deck that really wants to ramp up and get that curve going for that huge spike that you get, and it wasn't played around that. And I feel like that's the huge fault that Ian O'Gara at this game because Monte Cristo just played around his timings correctly and didn't allow for the opponent to do it well.
Yeah, but as we mentioned, like there is not much that Yano Guerra could do with the cards that he was given.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have the lack of the perfect starting end, and even then, even with the perfect end, potentially you're still losing the matchup. I think because Zigzali is so strong as deck right now, so powerful, so fast, also developing its win conditions that I don't know if you could keep up with that. But that being said, we are already in the second matchup of today.
Yep, and we are getting the Twisted Fate Nami. Sorry, I kind of just thought about it immediately, but yeah, Twisted Fate Nami into the Draven Zion once again. And I feel a little bit of a better hand for Ian Nogueira to try and get that chip damage on early on.
Yeah, for sure. Like at least now is in hand that you can play with. But even then, yeah, I think we will have to see because on the side of Monte Cristo, we are just now starting to develop our board like a little bit. We could put the Nami or just bank three more towards the Nami level up condition. That's gonna be pivotal potentially, either to generate more fearsome blockers, which is of course huge in this kind of deck. You have to value your units. You don't run as many units as you potentially would like because you have to run a lot of spells to get value from the kind of few units that you run. Uh, but yeah, as you mentioned, we are already though starting to get into the mid game, and we are at 18 HP. So we are not doing that bad actually. If you're Monte Cristo, we are withstanding the early game prowess for from Yanuguera.
Could have been a little bit more attacks, although Zion, a Rumble does come through into the play, which I feel for Ian Nogueira may accelerate a little bit of the pace, but Twisted Fate does come out as well. And I was going to mention this, like, there's the Twisted Fate, but there's also such a good red card to just eliminate some of the champions, and you can take this damage for in the front, in all honesty. Like, you can throw a unit here, but you can actually take the damage. It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. I don't know if you want to take the risk though. I
Bravery
mean,
no recourse.
if you're doing this, you could be risking. No, no, you're not risking anything actually because the opponent doesn't have the level up condition already up. I think, or yeah, it wouldn't be a
Cannot hold us
I
down.
don't think it would be a level up. I guess
Won't back down.
even with the Whirling Death.
Yeah, I don't think he actually gets it. So, but I think this is the best play to just opt into the block and
Yeah,
deny some
it
of the
wouldn't be a
damage in the
level up
lane.
because you don't have overwhelm, so there wouldn't be a second strike. You're just tanking. You wouldn't be tanking fight damage like this. I think it's very important to not let your HPs go that low at the start of the game because then
Yeah.
you're not withstanding like multiple decimates, get excited. It's the burn that we know
There
Yanogaira's
seems
deck can
troubles
have.
in the night
And
ahead.
okay, we start to see we get the full value of the little octopus with the potential pranks coming down from the next turn with a Shellfolk backing them up.
Yep.
And yeah, we're gonna see what we can do with that.
We also have the Nami in hand, so like the setup for Monte Cristo just feels like it's already in action, like it's just waiting for the moment to be able to put them down. And having two Namis, I think, also ideal because it's not that hard to kill the Namis with the deck that Ian Nogueira has. So having the extra backup Nami in hand, just be sure that if something goes wrong, you have that. It's so ideal for Monte Cristo.
Yeah, I think you are playing the Nami actually. Oh, he's pranking right away. Okay, I thought you could be actually playing the Nami immediately just to potentially get some fearsome blockers,
Yeah.
buff some of your units, even if only
My
one
people
attack.
counting on
That
me.
would be pivotal, and in fact, he's doing it,
Tide
but
caller.
instead
I
doing
will drive
the
back the
right and
darkness.
smarter play, just playing the prank to get the insta level up with Nami attuned keyword coming into play.
Yeah,
Really
already
well
too
done by
late.
Monte Cristo. Really
Also,
well done.
just to mention as well, like the prank onto the Whirling Dead, I think also quite nice because it's one of the cards that you
Mhm.
really want to play around as well.
Mhm. And here we're immediately gonna see the buff, the cast
Carry you.
changes coming into play immediately. Like as you can see, the cast play changes already mattering here. So if the opponent decides to actually playing the Mystic Shot on units, you can just commit more and more spells, even on stack, and your units are gonna get buffed by Nami. I think this deck is a very clever way to utilize the Nami buff.
Yeah, like it just feels like everything falls into place in a nice manner, and the Nami just makes it better in that regard.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see if we're actually gonna use the second uh, iteration of the Nami spell, the ebb and flow. Of course, we use the ebb. Now we're gonna potentially use the flow. I don't know if we want to use the mana here potentially to have more mana backed up for the next round.
Yeah, I feel like just living it up, having that for the next round, it's not a bad idea. And yeah, you just take damage. So like, it's not a card that you need to save. You actually blow up another resource from Yanogera. So yeah,
No, yeah,
you
I guess
actually
it's
opted to it.
I guess it's still healing, which matters. It's still getting one fearsome blocker immediately. And yes, that fearsome blocker is going to get pulled away, but you're forcing the pull. And you can even force the attack here because the opponent might not have anything to play with. But, as you mentioned, respecting the survival skills.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised that then the ebb and flow, the float wasn't used to just keep one of the potential blockers alive, but it's all fine. Like, it's not necessary, and you end up giving more value to one of your blockers anyway.
No, I mean you could not use that because the buffs are always going to the weakest unit.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And the 3-2 was the 3-2 Octopus for sure wasn't the
Yeah,
weakest the weakest one. And here we get the snipe actually. Monte Cristo with the second Nami sniping one of the opponent's units immediately. And this is huge because now it gives us not only the opportunity we sniped one of the opponent's cards immediately, but also we got more buffs to play with. We got one more spell, one more ebb and flow to potentially use one more stack of healing.
Like, it just feels like everything is going into the pace of Monte Cristo, and Yanogera is trying to follow up as much as he can, but it's becoming hard for him, in a sense.
Yeah, I think here you can even suck the TF. I don't think TF is that important of the card in this kind of matchup. You could just sacrifice him. I think it's not the greatest deal. But here we see Yanogera has to be very careful of how he declares the attack.
I feel like you can even, like, you're mentioning sacrificing the TF. I think you can even eat the damage and wouldn't be that detrimental. Like, not the full damage, but just block one and then take the damage from the fight potentially, and wouldn't be
Yeah,
that huge.
I agree. I actually agree because you have healing, so you would be still like not tanking the full damage. But here, okay, we open to uh a full block. Yes, you're gonna be slightly in theory punished by the play of the Whirling Death. That would be all of the 5 mana available from Yanogueras though, so it's a
Yeah.
very big investment to do.
Yeah, it has to be used if you can get something else later on, right? Like, it does have to mean that you get something important. We do get the level up of the Rumble, so that's at least something to look up for in the next turns as well.
Yeah, but then I think it might be too little too late. Like the Rumble level up, yes, but meanwhile the opponent has a flipped Nami on the board, has been able to get so many stacks on this TF, which now is actually kind of a fearsome, not a fearsome blocker in the sense that can block fearsome, but a fearsome blocker in the sense that like the Yanogera might fear this TF's attacks from now on.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it just feels like everything, like, the next attacks from Yanogera may not be strong enough, even if he has some of the damage there.
And
Like,
look,
the
we have
team
the Shell
actually-
Folk, oh no. Oh
It's
no,
just-
when you're the Shell Folk, it's so strong.
and
We get double everything. We get a buffed up Shell Folk now. From now on, Shell Folk is gonna grow and grow and grow also in defense. Basically,
attacks from
unnerving. Yeah, this is basically the unnerf of Shell Folk for how we remembered her when it was in her prime, like 4-6 unit, absolutely like difficult to deal with. You couldn't like thermal beam her very often. You would have to expend all of your mana potentially. Now you can juggle with that a little bit more.
And now looking at it, like, looking at the board, like, Yanogera has a good board in terms of attacking power in a sense, but at the same time, like the strong attackers don't necessarily mean that you can get a super huge damage onto the Nexus. And just the stacking that the Nami already has with the Twisted Fate as well just feels so strong. And it's going to get stronger as well.
Yep. It's gonna get stronger, even though you're Rumble attacking. This is 8 damage, potentially one more card in the end of Yanogera generated, of course, one Mecha Yordle generated and discounted by one from the impact. And I think we kind of have to block the 4-3. I don't think we can afford to take this much damage at this point of the game, because we know the opponent could have double decimate, could have multiple get excited with mystic shots to finish us off. So this damage is actually threatening.
Yeah, I feel like you defend the 4-3, take the 6-5, and try and just heal back a little bit later on. I think that would be okay enough still. Although, like you're pointing out, there's still the chance that there's decimates and get excited. So it's risky, but I feel like with what Monte Cristo has at hand, can be good enough.
Ooh, and he
Does
has
take it
take.
off.
Okay, he knows, but he knows. Like if you see like his reaction with the emote game, like he knows that the opponent is threatening potential lethal on his Nexus. He knows that what he has done is very, very risky, but he wants to take the path to victory, not the path to just survive and hope for the best.
So in these kinds of situations, because it's a kind of interesting debate into, don't you think that you can win later on as well just by surviving long enough, or do you think that you need to win so far?
Not without elusives. Like if there were elusives in his hand, it would be a completely different story. You would suck basically even the TF. You would suck your champions, and of course your shelf lock even, if you add elusives, or like even Admiral Shelley plus another elusive. But like this is a very different, very difficult spot to be in.
Maximum.
Yeah, like it's a risky situation now, and taking those 3 damage, there's still the Whirling Death, but maybe can even just, yeah, like just attack here with the shuffle, with the prank. I mean,
I think we're just gonna get this moment as a way to remove part of the opponent's board. We could even try to do like you've been warned into Pokestick to draw one more. We're just gonna like we see all of the opponent's hand now. We know that we are not in danger, in any danger, like in any immediate danger. We know that we can go for the Pokestick or the poisonous dart on the 0-1 to draw more, and this is a kind of bad, and now you see the power of shuffle. You see when you have multiple trinket trades, when you can have actually your pranks lining up and be effective. Like this is the real strength of Monte Cristo's deck, and I think next turn, especially with that potential Treasure Trash, or even in the next few turns, like this is not gonna get good for Yanogueras. I think Yanoguera might be actually forced to block almost everything here to not die. Man, this top deck is basically one of the strongest that could have been done. We can get rid of almost everything, and we can threaten a lethal. This is Monte Cristo turning the game on its head in just one turn with the power of Shelfolk and all the value from the generated cards. This is insane.
it's a value that you get from
Look,
just
this
spamming
is
and spamming the
leveling
cards.
up. This is GG.
Yeah.
This is GG. This is
That's
GG.
it.
There is no way to counter it.
This is so harsh on Yanogera. But yeah, Monte Cristo just playing it accordingly, getting everything out there. Like,
I'm calling
so
it. Yanogera is not gonna be happy with this with the result of this match. He's gonna want revenge, and you know where he could find revenge?
the
In
Saturday.
seasonal open rounds.
Yep, that's the best opportunity because tonight seems to not be the case. We'll wait till the Nexus is dead from saying anything just in case. But yeah,
I mean, we just need one more buff. We just need one more single buff, little buff, and we are even like going above and beyond what was expected. There is no way for Yanugara to answer this. There is no way to get rid of anything on the opponent's board. This is just a no TK turn for Monte Cristo.
yeah.
Like turning the game in one single turn with all the value. We mentioned Monte Cristo. This deck's keyword was creativity, was forging your own path to victory, and Monte Cristo did it. Like, it was wonderful to see.
Yeah, it was actually really nice seeing the value that the TF and Dynamic can find. Like, playing around this really effectively. And we need to remember, like, there was the turn that he got the buff that Nami. It was playing around the potential of that level up Nami, getting the value out, and then getting the level up, and it just spiraled from there really nicely. Getting the 2-0 victory, Monte Cristo, really nicely played. To add to that, we have the matchup from Garrett's and Yang going 1-0 in favor of Yang on the other matchups. So still yet to get a clear tool, but so far with that victory from Monte Cristo, Worldwide Wombats getting one victory, overall victory on the set, and setting potentially for another one later on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, both Young Zira and Monte Cristo, two like formidable players. Monte Cristo, especially with this clean 2-0,
Yeah.
like showing up huge today. Like if this was like in preparation for the seasonal tournament, I'm super excited to see what lineup is gonna bring, and especially like this season, I think is one of the best shapes he has ever been to clash into seasonal, and I think there is a very high chance he might get into top 32.
Yeah, so setting up ourselves, setting up expectations from Monte Cristo already, which is exciting coming into the seasonals. It's something that everyone should look forward to, because you can say tonight we watch Monte Cristo carving his path onto the seasonals. So you could be the first to say it if you watch the matches, and it's a really exciting instance. With that, are we going to be joining another matchup we want to know before we continue? So we may be joining another matchup that is currently being played. We'll be waiting a little bit before that happens. So we will continue talking about Monte Cristo's greatness.
Yeah, I don't. He doesn't really like to brag about himself, so I don't know how happy he would be if we like like he would say that we are overpraising him. He would say, "Okay, I played well, but like the opponent didn't see the card that he needed, or like
True.
I got a little bit lucky with some top decks." Is a like he's a super nice guy, and he doesn't really like bragging about his results, so he wouldn't be super happy to know that we are praising him so much potentially. But yeah, I think Wobbly Wombat worldwide as a team are a super scary opponents to go
Yep.
against, and we are seeing why. Like Monte Cristo, Young Zera are just two of the players in their roster, but I think anyone in the roster is a major threat.
Yeah, and it's something to keep in mind, because I think I've mentioned this quite a bit already, but we're on the verge of playoffs. We're really close to the playoff matchups. It's 4 teams per group that advance. And if Worldwide Wombats can get that victory, they can at least get into a spot towards that playoff race that it's really contested in the group that they are currently. So it's important that they get these wins, because looking into playoffs, if they are online, if they are in a really nice strength or mental strength and capability, then they can go really strongly into the matchups and be quite a team to keep in mind. Like you're pointing out, they have great players. It's just how well they are performing at that point, and it's going to be important watching them at that point.
Yep, exactly. Especially since playoff, as you mentioned before, it's a king of the eel format. So basically, the rule completely changed. You have to
Yep.
think about to think about it in a completely different way. You can even as one player in a team can completely sweep your whole team down.
We have some of
Insane
those.
to think about.
Okay, so we
Ooh,
have
and we're
noticed.
going into game two. Okay, for
Yeah,
a double versus Pat.
nice.
Actually, Pat is a friend of mine. Like I know him very well because he also lived in Italy for some time.
This
Now
mountain
he's
is a
back
beast, Mom.
in his country of origin. But yeah, he is a very strong player. And even if you don't always see Pat in ladder, as you might see, for example, for LW, which is historically like multi-rank one position players, like master as first with master in many sets in the EM shard. I think he's a very scary player to play against, and a very smart one as well.
Actually, giving a lot of good insight onto the player. Now, looking into the game, we're in a really late state with 4LW, actually in
I
a really
think
strong point.
I think yes. I think I got to I told a lot of good insights about But you're in a pretty scary situation. Even though he has the almost complete control. Let's be honest. Let's be real. We are stunning the opponent now, and we have two Ledroses. One we can play this turn. It's gonna put the opponent to 1 HP, and the other is gonna spell defeat. So I think we are pretty safely. It's pretty safe to see that Pat is gonna win this matchup without a sweat.
We're calling it quite heavily, but yeah, potentially. Now, I do want to mention quickly, Yang and Garrett just ended. It's a 2-0 in favor of Yang. So the side of for Worldwide Wombat already setting themselves up with a 2-0 victory over the set, and now we're waiting for this matchup.
Yep. Yeah, this is gonna be an absolute dominance. This is gonna be 4-0 potentially, because you see, but I want you to go for the style points. If you don't go for the other Ledros play, like you have the Pokestick on backup, you go for the Ledros play. I would be disappointed. No, I'm so disappointed.
That's the respectful way.
I'm disappointed. You have for the style points.
It's the respectful way of winning.
Yeah, you have to destroy the opponent's Nexus with that has 1 HP with a Ledros. No, that would be the respectful way, because you would be using 9 mana to deal 1 damage. That would be the respect play. Instead,
really
you're just using 2 mana.
Way of playing. So, see, I'm not actually that convinced that would be the respectful play, but we did get confirmation that with that victory, it is 1-1 between Pat and 4LW. So we're heading into a game 3, only game 3 of the night. So exciting already.
I mean, the only game 3 of the night. It means all the stakes of the night. This is the game with the highest stakes of the night, actually, because whoever wins takes the series.
Yep, essentially.
Even the Wombats are already at a large advantage with a 4-0, like this, that they're at 5-1.
Games matter. Games and victories matter. So getting an extra win, it's actually important looking into playoffs.
Yep.
So this is important.
Looking into playoffs, like both for seeding, then for, of course, just showing up in the night, and also for confidence boost for like the single players, you know.
Yeah, so everything actually getting a little bit of importance, and now we're seeing the decks that both have, if I'm not wrong, it's Karma. I want to quickly check because I'm not 100% sure.
Could be Karma Lysin, could be Karma Philios. I think both of the options are valid to play. And for Ws, we saw this deck in the. I think this is the field. I think this is the Yumi.
It's a Philios Karma, and I think it's Yumi Pantheon.
Oh, Yumi. No, it cannot be Yumi Pantheon.
Yeah,
it must be Yumi Udyr. I think it's Yumi Udyr.
It's Yumi Udyr, yeah. Thank you for that correction. It is Yumi Udyr.
No, simply because I wasn't seeing Targan.
I quickly checked and I just kind of went over, so I saw the Yumi, but yeah, it is Yumi Udyr.
Yeah, the spicy Yumi Udyr by 4LW. Like we know 4LW. Like both can play both aggro and control very comfortably. He's a very versatile player, and I'm very excited to see what is what this Yumi Udyr can actually achieve.
Yeah, I want to see how much power does it get. Now, we do see on hand from Pat both Karmas. There is yet to be shown either the Yumi or the Udyr on the setup for LW, but I think has quite a nice setup already at the start with that potential attack damage.
Yeah, we played both the Sun Oaks. Two threaten damage. We deal 4 HP to the opponents, and we also say, yo, if you're open attacking, we are gonna be sure to block and value trade both of your librarians. You cannot save both of them. Instead, we still decide to open attack with just one of the librarian. We activate the fated keyword. We get a value trade on the Sanok. It's absolutely fine though for Pat, but because he knows there is no big removal instead of 4W, can just play his Karma, can just sit down, get his value, and see what you can do. And wait, Insight of Aegis being generated from Karma, value section here.
Yeah, actually we're getting a lot. And I wanted to ask you a little bit on this because just looking at the Yumi Udyr side, how much damage do you care about taking? Like, do you care about taking a lot of damage, or are you fine as long as you survive with this?
You are the beatdown. I mean, Yumi Udyr is clearly the beatdown. Like, you cannot challenge Karma in any facility late game. Like, we have been we have known that for basically since the start of the game. Karma is the late game champion. You cannot go toe to toe with her. Not even leveled up Aurelion Sol can challenge Karma if leveled up most of times. Like, and that's an insane. Like, if you think about it, it's really insane. Like, not even the big space dragon can go toe to toe with Karma.
So if it's like the big space dragon from League of Legends, then I wouldn't be scared. But obviously, it's not like that. So yeah, it's
I mean,
actually
it's gonna be
really
reworked in League, you know. It's gonna be reworked.
hopefully better and bigger and actually useful. But I have my rights with Aurelion Sol there, so I won't mention it
Yeah.
anymore.
The light of my star.
Okay. Makes absolute sense. I'm not gonna mention it anymore. Don't worry. Everyone has their beef with League of Legends champion. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
to a
the
certain point,
kind
yeah.
of game that League of Legends is. Very polarizing on champion takes.
Sadly, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, we can talk about League of Legends because the matchup is just like Pat wants value. Pat wants to stabilize as put the Golden Sister down. That lifesteal is gonna be pivotal in this kind of matchup. It's super important to get it on as soon as possible. To maybe even get some value trades with it, to make it stick on the board as for as long as we can
I'm ready to play, fight, and knock over some cups.
to get
Sounds
more and more health back because we are gonna win for sure if we get to the late lane. Like it's not even in question. Like see, Karma just generated as potential win condition another source of life still in the Spirit's Refuge.
Yeah, like the amount of value that the karma just alone generated in hand is so high, and it feels like it's going to be hard to measure up against it the longer that you continue. Like giving the lifesteal now, this is just generating the value that you need if you're Pat.
Yeah. And I think here you're potentially fine. Like the opponent stays with 1 HP on his unit. You just get 4 health back. You're gonna get add another 4 health back from the Golden Sister. You don't have units to put on board, and that's a bit sad. Oh, but as I mentioned it, you
Yep.
just stopped it. Yeah, guiding touch into Tasty Fearful is the way to go. Like I wish I got those top decks in ladder.
It's the kind of wish that everyone gets, but it's how you play with them that at
And
the
this
end.
turn 9, okay. 4W has to win this turn. Like 4W knows it. They know they have to win now. If they don't win now, the risk is to never win again.
That's actually a pretty big risk if you're saying it like that. Like the difference is
Yeah,
actually
because
so
like
monumental. Yeah.
you see Karma if levels like is even like you have the Insight of Aegis, you know, the 2 mana spell that we see that we have 2 of them on board. One is a Karma, one has been generated randomly
Yep.
by the Karma, and that spell with Karma leveled on board gives you 4 different random spells. Okay, that's the value inception that you need. That's a randomly generated value that you can find your lethal. That the dreams are made of, basically. That
I wouldn't say
lethals are
just
made of.
eternal value that you get there.
Yep. And here we're just gonna, yeah. And you see how easy can be for this deck to remove giant threats on the opponent's board. Like we see a giant Owlcat. Oh, we're just recalling it. We use 2 spells, yes, but we don't actually care about the spell we use. We're gonna get plenty of spells
Yeah.
back from the Karma.
Like it's
And-
just a recycling process where everything gets back into position, and karma just like that levels up. So
Yeah, Karma levels, we are enlightened. And we top deck another palm. Man, this this is not gonna this is not gonna go well. I don't think this is gonna be fun for 4LW from now on.
yeah, like 4LW had a good chance to go for it, but I feel like with the previous matchup that we saw, there's a timing that could have been played a little bit around it, and before it happened, like the karma just got leveled up. So it's so harsh on 4LW after that point.
Move with purpose.
Yeah. Like we could say like we didn't play the challenger on the lifesteals. That's a bit unfortunate. Like we cannot get lifesteal on anything. We cannot trade down potentially, the grandfather for free, and get all of our health back with the Tasty Folk or the Golden Caesar. But that's fine in theory. Like we know that the opponent is gonna have to play the mana. The opponent is gonna have to play back the he's gonna have to play the attached unit from zero. Is gonna have to spend a lot of mana into them, and you have all of the removals you need. You have the palm. You are creating more and more cards in your hand, so we're kind of fine here. We're still fine.
Yeah, like everything that is on hand will be used, and still you will get more back. So it just at the end doesn't feel like
Yeah,
it's
this is the kind of bad situation though from the karma, where you wouldn't necessarily want for karma to create more spells. You have all the value you need. Now you're just milling from your deck with the karma creating spell. So I think you might be thinking to use the ghost just to get rid of one useless spell in hand.
yeah, like at least to make
yeah.
space for something more. But yeah,
Ooh, but doesn't matter. We actually draw. We actually create something more useful than, yes, for sure. What we would have drawn. And the ghost actually might come in clutch because the ghost gives you access to one more elusive blocker.
so looking at this state, is
This
there
is
anything
absolutely
that
over.
Fortnite can do? I'm actually
No, this is absolutely over. I don't think there is anything that can be done. I legitimately don't think there is anything that could be done from this point onwards.
like I'm trying to I'm trying to see it. I was looking at the value in hand, but when you compare the value in hand from 4W to the value in hand from Pat, like everything just feels a little bit better, or no, maybe not a little better, but way better, like than the previous one. So it's just so harsh on 4W.
Yeah, let me see. Like more rainbow fishes, but it doesn't really matter when you have 3 elusive rainbow fishes that can all be traded down from. Like this would be lethal. And yes, I agree. This looks scary. All cats, of course, very very powerful units, but you're gonna be able to heal everything back. Wait, yes, no. We are never gonna die because we heal back up, and even if we don't heal back up, the opponent don't have like the damage because either they choose to freeze our healing, and that's fine for us, or they choose to buff their own units, which is also fine for us because they're not killing us.
Like it's not enough.
No, it's
simply
never
not
enough.
Yeah. Like this next turn may be it potentially, but we're just waiting.
I am very doubtful. Okay, if karma generates bad spells, it might be. Like we are on the turn.
That's the
We are in
expectation.
turn 13. The problem for a W is that we are on turn 13. That means that karma can do whatever she wants,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest problem. Like you cannot let a karma run free, run rampant, because she's gonna give so much value, like in so little time. You see, like now we can just play a 6 mana spell and kill instantly, like both the Olcat and the elusive unit, or this bundle commando. Like we don't even care anymore, honestly. We're just killing them.
Like when the state reaches the point where if she can draw bad cards, then we're fine. Like that's kind of harsh when you think about it. Like if that's the state that we're at, it's really harsh on you.
Yes, I can only agree with you. Like if blockers come down, even potential value blocks, yes, we can get the value blocks, but we are expending a lot of mana. Meanwhile, Pat can draw with a Pale Cascades, can get into more value. Like I don't see the end of the loop. I legit don't see the end of the loop.
It's an eternal loop that just simply doesn't feel that good at the end. Well, at least
And
it feels
and
good
I
if you're
know,
bad.
like, because I don't know if you like Pat for instance was the Monastery of Irana player. Like if you don't know the card, Monastery of Irana is that basically everyone thought it to be completely useless, completely garbage card. The landmark that gives you the power to recall one of your units every turn for 1 mana. But Pat has always believed in the card, has always tried to make it work, and he has always liked this kind of value fest decks where he can do basically whatever he wants. And here we see, like, there is nothing that can be done to stop him. He has the power to do anything that he wants.
Yeah, like not even believing in the heart of the cards will be enough, from what I see.
I mean, I don't think anything can be enough. Like, even if like we are back at full health, basically, even if we turbo giga buffs and anything, like we are gonna try to get rid of one of the elusives. If you're dealing 1 damage to the opponent's Nexus, we can try potentially to giga buff our Cat. But the opponent has an Ash, and an Ash that can get through the spell shield actually because of the leveled karma. And okay, Star Shaping steals the game. This is GG. No way. Like, Star Shaping top deck here is just the way that the game has to tell Pat, okay, you win.
It's the cherry on top for Pat.
You're strange.
Like, yeah. Look, there is nothing to be done. Like, you're doing everything. You are the value deck that doesn't actually run units, and you are a way bigger board than the opponents, which is the aggressor. Like, this is the game where it's over. Like, the opponent doesn't have any way to answer it. You have double attack on any unit you want
You've been following me?
on the next attack. And yes, the opponent can freeze it, but then it's freeze used for that, and I don't think there is any way to prevent Pat from winning. Like, this, he had the job, and it was survive early game. He wonderfully survived the early game, and from that point onwards, there was no coming back. We said it, he knows it, 4LW knows it as well, but he has to try and win, even though it looks dire.
Yeah, like he has to find for the opportunity to be able to play around it, but yeah, like with this state, when it's so late with everything that it's already been played, it just feels like no. Yep.
Look, like, this is a 15 damage. There is no block from the opponent. Like, you have to freeze the 5-2 actually here. You're not getting any heal back. You're using your valuable. You're actually using all your value to freeze an opponent. And yeah, no comeback from this. You don't have cards in hand. The opponent is generating an infinite number of spells, and there is nothing that can be done at this point.
Yep, it's just waiting for it to work out, and yeah, like we're just waiting.
Actually, it's super fun. And Pat, I don't think he thought about it, or he just wanted to play like mana efficient. He played the syncope, but syncope doesn't actually work with flipped karma, because it just pulled the unit back on how they should have been. Ooh! Maybe do we have an out?
I taste purple.
Is there an actual opportunity?
Maybe.
Where'd we end up this time?
Maybe
that
this
sounds
is the
better
OTK.
than- Yeah.
Maybe this is the OTK. No, it's 19. It's actually 19 damage. It's actually 1 damage off. Sad.
Peace has its cost.
Really unlucky. Like, there was a chance,
By force of will.
although
Yeah, you're trading the karma. Like, this is when you know that you're just waiting. When you consider trading the karma. Would you ever, like, you think, oh, do I trade my absolute value engine for a 7-5 on the opponent's side? And as you mentioned, this is basically yeah, and this is 19 damage. Start shaping now, getting probably an immortal Phoenix out of it. I think it's we're going. Okay, not that it doesn't matter. I think that Phoenix would be potentially more correct to have an elusive blocker, because you are never getting rid of your end. And now 1 HP.
Just playing with
Absolutely
that
same.
1
Okay,
HP
honestly,
threshold.
we got through the difficult part, and now you just go for you just go for the obliterate and you just win the game plainly. But yeah, that was the scary part, because if the opponent had just one potential buff, one more buff, it was like another Three Sisters as a top deck, it would have been over, and it would have been so sad. But yeah, this shows how 4W's deck, like we could have memed about it a bit tonight. We could have said, okay, Yumi Udyr, very strange list, very spicy one, but it has, and it shows it has the potential to find the OTKs on the more unexpected turns. This game doesn't seem like it is gonna be the case, but still potentially we see how the deck can be scary.
Yeah, it's unlucky that it didn't at the end get the work done in that sense, but it showed that there was a chance. Like it could have worked out, and there's scary moments and there's moments that seem really interesting. But against when the main problem that the deck faced was reaching the late game against the Karma deck. I think that's the main thing. Because in normal circumstances, maybe it's not that bad.
Yeah. Wait. Wait, what did we do? Wait. Where are we doing? Okay, where are we? Okay, I guess we are doing stuff. We're getting spells. We have the
Do we need to
dragon.
get more spells?
We have the dragon kick.
Okay.
And this is gonna seal the deal. I mean, even if we play it, it's Mimi that could instantly seal the deal. We could play the Lee Sin spell. Yeah, the 4LW has to go for the lethal. Like he knows, he still knows that it's not gonna work. We're gonna play the Lee Sin spell into the Lee Sin kick, or just the Lee Sin kick to kick the gleaming lantern of the rails. There is not gonna be any potential overwhelm on the field, and even if Yumi would strike through, even if we have a very big unit, it's not gonna be enough. GG. And I know these games with Karma might take a while. We declared the GG for Patpat kind of a long time ago, and you might be like tired to hear about it, but like, see 10 cards hand, completely full hand from Patpat versus no cards hand from for LW. So I don't think there is many chances here for the comeback. Sorry.
Yeah, like there was a chance. It didn't happen at that moment, but right now
Wait, we are actually winning with. Are we actually winning with Irelia spell?
it would be hilarious if it actually happens like that.
It's gonna happen.
They're waiting for that precise moment.
Either that or listens. I want Patpat took the meme route. Like he knows the cards, like the cards your opponent send is just one. It cannot be that scary. You could go for the meme ending.
Feels like we're close to that actually. Like it feels like we're actually just close to that.
Yeah, he's going for the meme ending.
Yep.
This time he gets the bonus points for style. GG Patpat, you did it. You get my bonus points. Double Irelia spell. A ton of attackers, 10 damage declared, and GG Patpat taking the series 2 and 1 with the Karma deck going into turn to, like I think it was turn to the 20 or something.
I don't even want to
Making
count.
an
Like it
absolute
lasted.
value deck.
Yeah, it lasted a lot. I don't even want to know how much turns did that take. Honestly, I don't want to even count. But what we did know, like you pointed out, 2-1 in favor of Pat, meaning 3
Like
and
it
0
was
overall.
I'm sorry for the viewers, because we said like if you know how in theory that matchup should look like at that point, it was like easy, super easy GG for Pat. But like yes, Karma flipped,
Yeah.
yes 18 HP. There is no way the opponent comes back. But the power of elusive attached units is so big. Like you get your elusive attachers in hand even after you deal with them, unless you obliterate the units. So you can always threaten the opponent if he doesn't have elusive blockers. And we saw the power of it. It left Patwat with 1 HP, and it was a real threat. It wasn't like something that Patwat could shrug off. He didn't have any answer if there was a buff in that spot. And that is
Yeah,
why, in theory, the buff that was done to Karma is also a nerf, in a way.
in a way.
Because in that spot, you don't really want randomly generated cards from leveled up Karma. You want your own main decked cards, which are honestly way better on average. And way
Well,
better also to deal with
it's what
threat.
you pick for. It's what you draft for. I mean, so obviously
Yep.
it would make much more sense to get those. But at the end, it does secure the win, and it's like we pointed out, the overall win in the set for the Wombats. They get the 3-0 complete victory. So congratulations to them, setting themselves nicely into playoffs. And to finalize, no, but the final giveaway of the night we will be having. So remember, exclamation mark giveaway to be able to participate in it. We will be giving the prize really soon. Like it's going to be announced immediately, so be ready for that. And also shout out once again Path of Seasonals, because remember, on Saturday, May 14th, we will have the open rounds streamed on Giant Slayer, or at least that's what they say, but yeah, on Giant Slayer. And then on the 21st of May, we will have the playoffs from the seasonals. So be ready for them, be ready to watch them, and if anything comes up, be excited about these matchups, because a lot of the players that you're seeing here, or some of the players that you're seeing here, will 100% be there. So be ready to watch.
I mean, at least for open rounds, I can guarantee all of the players in this tournament are gonna play the open rounds. Like literally all of the players are gonna play open rounds, and it's gonna be so exciting because as we saw, like today we saw so many different ideas of Runeterra, and that's what entertains me the most. Like to see different takes on the meta, different takes on the decks, different takes on lineups. Like you see,
Yeah.
Pat had a different idea of what was meta from, for example, we saw Squeeby in the first match, and they are in the same server. They are playing against the same opponents on ladder potentially, but there are so different ideas of what may be good for them or their team might need in the best of three environment. And it's so fun to watch. It's so exciting, at least for me, to see the creativity and new ideas the players put into drafting their best of three lineups.
Yeah, like for me, everything that they do in these tournaments serves the purpose of setting them up or preparing them nicely into the seasonals and into what they really want to achieve. So we get to see the everything that they are preparing, everything that they want to show, everything that they think may be good being showcased here to then show it into the main stage. So it's always exciting to see. Now we can still talk a little bit more. So about seasonals, about the players, about everything that we have. We have a little bit more time, so we have the room to talk about, and we'll be announcing the winners soon enough.
Yeah, and like through tonight, we mentioned a lot of things. We mentioned our favorite skins. We mentioned our favorite decks. But let's talk about real. Who are your favorites for at least some of your players that are you deem as favorite to reach top 32?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. So I've talked, or
At least at least in America Shard, because okay, there is also you and APAC
of course.
Shard, but let's talk about America.
So I think at least I've seen some of the players previously, and I've obviously been able to cast with some of the players as well. Like I think I've getting the chance with. I'm blanking on the name. I'm sorry if I'm blanking on the name, but I'll do it at that. I've casted with some of the players. I've been able to interact with some of them. I think Monte Cristo is one of the players that have surprised me the most, if I'm honest. Like his versatility with some of the decks and the fact that he performed so effectively today actually makes me be excited. Obviously, I don't have the biggest input or overview about most of the players, so
Mhm.
I always try to take the intake from whatever I can hear. And coming from you, coming from everyone else, like Monte Cristo seems to be really, really hyped coming into it. if I'm honest.
Yes, like he is. I think as I mentioned, he is one of the best. I think this is one of the best methods I've seen him play in potentially. I know he like is very well prepared. Like he casts with me also the EMEA Runeterra Aegis
True.
tournament. So I've been able to speak with him during and even before after casts, of course, also in various Discord calls and stuff. I was very well prepared. Also, like for EM, I think my black horses potentially to win it all are of
Ooh.
course random because random HS is a player that hasn't won a seasonal but already made the seasonal finals once. He ended up losing that finals, but he has been already in the big stage. He has already proven himself as one of the best players in America. And another one of my favorites is, of course, and must be Majin because he's
Okay,
probably
that is a
yeah, he's
good take
probably
actually.
one of the most consistent players out there.
So that's actually a take that I won't lie. I don't think I've heard much about, but I think that it's actually an interesting one. And I think that in the seasonals particularly, when you're looking at it, consistency is always something that you value, but also that impactful factor, like because it's so streaky when you're coming into it. Like if you're in a good streak, it can actually just mean that you're qualifying in completely. But if you also
Yes,
have
because it's
that,
9 rounds, you know. It's
yeah,
9 rounds, and you have to satisfy two main quests. You know, you have to be either top 50 and have the security of a 7-2 placement, or just go 8-1 or 9-2 or 9-0, which is super difficult, extremely difficult to do. And yes, as you
exactly.
mentioned, this streak is very important to maintain the consistency even though you can match a player with insane lineups like super off meta stuff, players that maybe don't play like at the highest level of ladder, so don't know the meta really well, so they've brought their comfort, and that's the trickiest part. Like many players bring comfort, and if you're just strictly playing meta, you might be finding some counters that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, and I like to bring that up as well because it's important to mention that tonight's games were actually quite impactful into that as well. Like if you're played in Aegis and Runeterra, right, and you lose today, or you're not in a good streak right now and you're losing today as well, like that can just go into the seasonals and not be the most positive of interactions for you. Now, on the other side, if you win today and you win convincingly, that can be just so good going into seasonals and set you up for victory over there.
Yep, absolutely. Like that's an extremely clever take, like from you. Like of course you're using this as a testing ground. Like I mean you're using every single tournament that you can have as a testing ground, especially these ones since you are guaranteed on the opponent's quality. Because
Yeah.
that's another very important thing. Like that's why many players just don't like uh, try testing many of their seasonal decks in ladder because the quality of the opponents is not always
Yeah,
guaranteed
it's
to
not
be as
sure how good
high.
it is.
Yeah, so you are either screaming with friends with people on your team, like for example, Wombats are screaming together, TA Hydra are screaming together, and basically almost all the teams that we see here are screaming together and prepping together. But on the other end, also tournaments like this, when you can actually challenge and confront with someone that it's not in your usual pool of people to scrim with, can also give you a different view on what people are going to take, a
Yeah.
different insight on what people that maybe don't share the exact idea of meta as you can actually bring to a seasonal tournament.
Yeah, 100%. Like everything adds up and everything works out quite nicely to set you up to triumph or to fail. But everything is just a mix of what you experience and you end up bringing to the seasonals, which is the maximum level. Now, I do want to mention that we do have the winner of the last giveaway of the night, the 500 Riot coins. It's going for Droses 11. Yeah, Droses 11 is the one that wins. So congratulations to him and to everyone that has entered and won in the giveaways. We hopefully in the near future will have more giveaways. I think I won't vouch for that, but I think we will have. So be ready for the next time that we have. And overall, I think that with that, we can close out the night. We have two really interesting sets, two really interesting matches that we were able to see. And with that, I will be throwing us going away for tomorrow, Emiya. But before we go, Zero, any last thoughts, anything you want to mention, anything you want to say, any shout outs you want to give?
Seasonal is gonna be a banger, and yeah, Monty make me proud in AM. It's cool.
That's perfect. The perfect way to send it up. So thank you all for being here. I was TDS. I was joined by Zero. Be sure to join us tomorrow because we will have EMEA. Yeah, EMEA. And next week we will have once again on Thursday the Runeterra A Americas. And also don't forget on Saturday we will have the open playoffs for the seasonals. And then on the 21st of May we will have the playoffs. So don't
This is
forget.
gonna be a very, very full week of Runeterra.
Yep. It has everything that you want to see. So if you like Runeterra and you want to stick, be ready, be paying attention, and be ready for everything that comes. Goodbye.
Goodbye.